I'm sure you want to know. Can Glass split M. Night Shyamalan's records in two to become an unbreakable box office hit? Let's talk numbers. Welcome to the Box Office Prediction Show. My name's Josiah, and every week I talk box office predictions. This week, the upcoming week is January 18th to the 20th, and there's one major movie coming out, and that is Glass. So let's dive right into last week's estimates and what actually came out as the totals. So this was the first week since its release that Aquaman is not number one at the box office, and we'll get to that in a bit, but it was actually beat out by one of these newer movies that just came out. So as you see, in fifth place, we have Escape Room. In Escape Room, again, it took me by surprise, and that's partly because one of the movies that weren't on my predictions ended up making the list. Now, I actually figured that this was going to do a 50% drop, which it did, and make just shy of $9 million. And then in fourth place, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse holding very strong with about a 30% drop from last week, making, just as I predicted, $9 million. And rounding up, so I mean, this is doing very well at the box office. It's having a very great run. And continuing along, in third place, just where I had it on my list, is Dog's Way Home. And this movie did a little bit less than what I thought it was going to do. It did around $11.3 million. So I was about $5 million off. Still a little bit in the vicinity, but I guess people just weren't out to the theater to see a movie about animals and dogs this weekend. But that's all right. And as I said, Aquaman is in second place. So Aquaman actually had a 45% drop and made $17.27 million. So I overestimated just a tad of $3 million. And this movie actually was not beat out by The Basis of Sex, which did not do as well as I thought it did or would do. I compared that movie to Hidden Figures last week, thinking that it could have a similar audience. And I guess I was kind of wrong with that, because that movie did around $6 or $7 million, whereas the number one movie of the week is The Upside. That's Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston's new movie. And I like I said last week, I may have been under predicting that movie, and I was. This movie made just about $20 million. So I was about $9 million off on that one. And I guess Kevin Hart's a little bit bigger of a box office star than I thought. I mean, it is a January movie, and with Bryan Cranston, but this movie did very well. We'll see what happens next week to see if it can continue with the same legs. And this week is actually also significant because it's our first box office bomb. This week, the box office bomb is Keanu Reeves Replicas. So this movie, as I predicted, it was going to bomb at the box office, and this weekend it made $2.5 million. Yikes. So we'll keep track of what movies do well and which ones bomb. Nobody saw that movie, and you may be seeing that on Netflix in the next month just to get it in front of some eyes, because it was that bad. So let's get into next week's. That's January 18th through the 20th. And in fifth place, on my list, I have A Dog's Way Home. So I have this dropping about 45%. I think it can still do well at the box office and hang in there, but it's probably just going to make around $6 million this week, which is probably pretty good because it didn't have a massive budget, being the movie that it is. In fourth place, I still have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man is just crushing it. If it continues with around a 30% drop, it's still going to make about $6.5 million this weekend. I think the Golden Globes, since it did really well in the award season, that it's going to continue to have legs and do well with word of mouth. In third place, I have actually Aquaman, and this is part of the time that Aquaman is starting to drown a little bit. And it's still obviously dominating the box office. And I have it making $11 million. I still haven't seen it yet. I've read some of the comments, and I understand some of the backlash I got last week saying I wasn't planning on going to see this movie. Totally understand. I haven't been able to make it to the theater to see it yet. And in second place, I actually have The Upside beating Aquaman yet again, just barely. This movie will probably have about a 40% drop off. It's not that great on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics scores, which could play a little bit into whether people go to see it. I haven't heard a lot of great word of mouth about this, just from friends and family that have gone to see this movie. I mean, typically I'm the one talking about movies, but I still think it's going to just barely nudge out Aquaman. And in first place, I really don't think it's a big surprise to anybody, but is Glass. So Glass, I have this movie. Now it's interesting because this is the third movie in M. Night Shyamalan's trilogy of kind of superhero movies. So first was Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. That movie came out in 2000. Well, in 2017, when the movie Split came out with James McAvoy, and you may remember the 23 personalities that he had, it was revealed at the end that this was in the same universe as Unbreakable, which blew everybody's mind. It was a classic M. Night Shyamalan twist. So Unbreakable actually made $30 million opening weekend back in 2000, and Split made around $40 million. So actually, I have Glass making $50 million. Though the critics' scores for this movie right now aren't great, we'll see what the audience thinks and whether they kind of reel in some views there. But I think that Glass can do really well. This is the third movie in the trilogy. I think people are very excited to see this. I think it can do really well. And this will actually be M. Night Shyamalan's best movie in the trilogy opening weekend, even adjusting for inflation. So even adjusting for inflation with Unbreakable, that movie would have made around $49 million, and so this will barely beat it out. And I actually did a video this week talking all about M. Night Shyamalan's trilogy of movies, and I did a whiteboard movie war where I discussed all the facts, figures, stats, everything related to these movies. I go really in depth about it, so if you want to check that video out, I'll link to it so you can watch it. So I'm interested in knowing, what do you guys think Glass is going to make this weekend? Is it going to shatter all of the records from M. Night Shyamalan's previous movies? Or is it going to underperform because of what the critics are saying? I know I'll be in a seat this weekend to watch it, but what do you guys think? I appreciate you checking out this video, and I'll see you next week.